Hello everyone, you are watching a snippet of the June 1st, 2023 countdown program. Today is Thursday. See the full version of the program on the Patreon resource. And since today is the beginning of the month, it's time to become patrons of our channel. From September of this year, there will be even more programs and videos, and only very short videos will be on YouTube. All the same, they don't give views, there is no monetization, so it makes no sense. But I will leave the Friday stream as the fulfillment of a journalistic duty. And now to the main topics. The games of the ghouls always end with the expansion of the cemeteries. Belarusian dictator Lukashenko cynically stated that Ukraine should have been attacked earlier. Having again successfully bounced off the threshold of the Kobzon area, Lukashenko began to slander himself on the gallows. Our only mistake was that we did not resolve this issue in 2014 to 2015, when Ukraine had neither an army nor readiness, the talking tuber said, and almost shed a tear. They wanted to settle everything peacefully somehow. And during this time they created combat-ready armed forces. End of quote. This wailing of the ghouls sounded against the backdrop of another night rocket attack by Rashists on Kiev, as a result of which 3 people were killed, including a child born in 2012, and 14 people were injured. The Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported that the enemy launched 7 Iskander-M missiles and 3 Iskander-K missiles from the Bryansk region at approximately 2:45. All targets were successfully destroyed, but there are casualties and injuries as a result of falling debris, the statement said. Watch the full story on Patreon, and we're moving on. This is what happens when causal relationships are completely absent, when empathy is corroded and human feelings are replaced by primitive instincts. The speech of a young resident of Shebekina, Belgorod region, as a standard of morality turned inside out. It is not clear who the young resident of Shebekina addressed to.
Good afternoon. I would like to talk about the current situation. In the city of Shebekin, I am 18 years old and I study at one of the local technical schools, but because of the constant shelling, there is no question of studying. My family has no finances and no way out. City limits. I never got shot at. I have never seen people run out of houses, literally in their underwear and run to the point, yes, for shelter. In the cellars they simply fell to the ground and hid. I saw how the mothers took their children to bed with them. I saw fear and panic in people's eyes. It's scary for me to realize that children at the age of 7 know what Sensapak and Hail are. This situation literally breaks the psyche of our children. The people can't stand the nerves. Women cry almost every time. I want to live, just like I live in other cities of Russia. Shebekin is part of Russia. We are the Russian Federation, and we are asking for help. We do not know who will protect us, who will help us. Why should we leave the city on our own? Why should we leave the land where we were born? From 2 Intel Linea at the front and save the Belgorod region.
It is not clear who the young resident of Shebekina addressed to. Logically, she had to admit that Russia is the aggressor, and it was Putin who started the war, and her compatriots brought death, suffering and destruction to Ukraine. But instead, some set of infantile phrases that we are scared and there is no money to leave. Meanwhile, in the Russian media, there was an unspoken installation to black out Shebekina from the news feed, not to mention this city at all, so that the deep diggers would not find out how painfully the boomerang of war flies. By the way, a drone shot down over Rublyovka caused a joyful hooting of the cave depths. They say, finally, the fat nouveau riches have arrived. No, not until it arrives. By the way, there are big doubts about these same drones. Whose are they really? For the armed forces of Ukraine, the operation is so-so. Even if they send drones, then the impressive Swifts, and along Ostankino with Shabalovka, so that the fascist federal channels will shut up, and only regional TV breaks will remain. Well, if you hit, then in Moscow City, in order to cause a real commotion in the Kremlin corridors. So if this is the armed forces of Ukraine or reconnaissance, then shooting. And if not them, then the FSB special operation. Flying bags of sugar. See the full countdown stories on Patreon. Become our patrons now and look further in this program. The RDK claims that it has again crossed the border of the Russian Federation. Shebekina is being shelled from Gradov. The building of the local Ministry of Internal Affairs is already on fire, and local officials are burning documents. Irritation with Prigozhin's activities is growing. The Kremlin is forcing Kadyrov to break off the alliance with Wagner's Mir office, and now Adam Delimkhanov runs into Prigozhin, hammering him with a gangster arrow. The US almost avoided default. On Thursday night, the lower house of the US Congress approved a compromise version of Joe Biden and allowed to increase the US national debt. Now the agreement must also be approved by the Senate, which is likely to happen. After all, no one wants economic upheavals on a planetary scale. Putin began to drown Miss Houston after he went to Beijing. The reason is the warm smiles of Comrade Xi, and by no means a failed visit to China. The premier is deliberately reduced in political weight, ordered to deal with the economy and not to look beyond the political horizon, sitting inside a cave. Even Volodin, not Miss Houston, will go to Erdogan's inauguration. Even the reaction of Erdogan himself to the fact that Russia will send a gay as the head of the delegation is not taken into account, which is completely haram. All this and more can be found on Patreon. Become our patrons, because soon all the main content will be only there. Alas, this is a forced measure. I hugged everyone. I'll meet you tomorrow on Friday Live. The final program will be published always and for everyone. Glory to Ukraine.